All right. Wow. Welcome to Inner Circle. It's good to see you guys today. I hope everyone's doing really well. Today, we're going to talk about flipping land. And in the chat box, I encourage you guys to type in there what you do and where you do it, and use that chat as a opportunity to increase your network. We should all get to know each other a little better. So pick out one of the 56 people on today, maybe private message them and get to know them a little better. If they're in your area, you can meet them for lunch or a cup of coffee. If not, then just jump on Zoom like this and kind of go from there, is what I would recommend. So today we're going to talk about active income. And there's a lot of ways to do it in real estate. I had a poll. I don't know if the poll was there, but we got more people waiting. But I want to know, how are you guys creating active income? You could flip houses, you could do real estate commission, you could flip land like we're talking about today. Maybe you do furnished rental hosts. Maybe you have a different business, a W-2, a job. What is it you do to keep your family rolling? You need active income until you have enough passive income that you don't need active income anymore, which for most people is quite a while. It doesn't happen in the twinkle of an eye or snap of a finger for sure. So tell us how you do that. What is your primary way of creating active income? When I first started in real estate, mine was wholesaling, and then it was flipping. But I've done them all over the years. I don't do much flipping anymore. But there we go. Tell each other what you do. All right, Michael, do you want to take over here? How many of you guys are flipping land or would like to? Raise your hand or put it in the chat. Okay. Corey, Don, Anne Marie, Dale Clark, Curtis. Okay. I love it. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves real quick, because you're already sort of flipping land. We'll start with you, Corey. You have to unmute yourself.
All right. I'm Corey Murphy out of we're in the Richmond market, but we flip land all over Virginia and North Carolina. We're buying and selling, and we're starting to do some developments now too.
Hey, by the way, in about 3 weeks, we're going to do a Zoom on land development. Would that be interesting to you guys? I think it's going to be really good. I'm going to have Lisa Engelhardt on. She's starting to like land development a lot. So I was glad to hear that, Corey. Don and Anne, you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Don Corbett. My wife Anne Marie. We are also in the Richmond market, and we are also flipping land. We're focusing on the Louisa area, and Goochland and Powhatan is our first niche. We're looking actually at a couple of lots and talking to a couple of people about actually putting some modular homes on them. So hopefully we can come to terms on that, but that's what we're focusing on. We're going to probably expand across
that as well. Go ahead, Don.
We're probably going to expand farther out. But right now we're focusing on an area that we could drive to in an hour or so.
And you're working on your first deal now?
Yeah. Hopefully we're going to be closing it in a couple of days, or just waiting on him. So
congratulations. That's awesome. I like the idea of putting modulars on, or even mobile homes. And we're going to do a Zoom on mobile homes in the next 4 weeks as well. So we got a lot of stuff that ties in all this stuff kind of together. Who else is doing land deals? Go ahead, Curtis. Tell us about yourself, where you're at, and what you do.
Yeah, I'm Curtis. I'm from New York, New Jersey area. I did a lot of fix and flips the last few years. And about a year now, I've been doing land. I've done some land deals in Georgia. I try to get some done in Florida, but it's kind of going crazy down there right now. But I'm also looking to get into land development. I have a few deals that I'm trying to get done right now, but I need some funding. And I'm trying to get a private route.
Okay.
So,
congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
I love it. Okay. Who else is looking for some land deals right now? Just raise your hand real quick. I won't call on you. If you could find a land deal, would you buy it today? Saying you said that's you. That's awesome. Always, right, Corey? You are all in on land now, aren't you? All right, great. Well, once every quarter, we have, I'm gonna shut those doors, I got an echo. We have Michael Robertson on with us, and we talk about flipping land. And Michael and I were chatting last night via text, and he's gonna share PropStream, because this is a tool and a skill we all need. But what's really neat is he's got a brand new filter and way of finding land deals in PropStream that he's going to share with us today. So, Michael, we always love having you with us, part of our community, and you have your own land community as well. And maybe, there we go. Maybe you can tell us more about how people could join into that community as well. But take it away and say hello and share your screen and all that good stuff.
I greatly appreciate it. It's good to be back. I recognize many of you, and Sharon, I see you there. Some of us are teammates. After being at this for 30 years, flipped land strictly full-time for the last 7 years. And I just wanted to see if Louise could share a few slides very quickly and show you some of the niches that I market to, and including one new niche. And then kind of go through PropStream and show you a few other tools that I use as well. But basically, why land? Many of these people have owned it for 10 or 20 years. They may have inherited it. The mom that lives in Florida may have gifted it to the son that's in California. The property's in Florida, and every year he gets that darn tax bill. So I find that many of these people are extremely motivated. Sometimes they look at it like it's a liability and not an asset. Our transactions take very quick. Sometimes we own them for hours or a few days, sometimes for 30 days. No repairs needed. And I brought I'll show you in a little bit, all the tools I own, which is 3 little screwdrivers. So I'm not handy. I don't do anything to it. No appointments to see it. No appointments to sell it. Most of the time we don't do anything to it. And it's becoming more competitive, but it still seems to be a lot less competitive than when I was flipping houses. The next slide. I instead of just marketing to everyone in general, I try to focus on niches that a lot of other people aren't focusing on. And some of them are kind of generic. The first 2 are from PropStream, just people that live out of the area primarily, or they've owned for a long time. We do probate. The $100 list, basically what that is people that have owned for 5 years or less. So typically we're marketing to people that own for 10 or 20 years or longer. But that $100 list is typically a property that's gone through probate. Someone's received the property with a quick claim deed, or there's been a death certificate filed, and many times they just want to get rid of them. Some of these other niches I'll go ahead and just talk about or show you very briefly. We'll do a campaign to people over 65 and over, low credit scores, people losing their property at tax deed sales, code enforcement liens, expired MLS listings, and the bottom one there is certificates. And what that relates to, we market to people that are behind on property taxes. But if we go to a county and when someone's chronically delinquent, the county will sell a certificate to generate the tax revenue for the county. And so we just built a list of 650 people that are at least a couple of years behind, and I'll show you that briefly as well. Next slide. And these are just some samples of recent deals that we've just done. And you can kind of see there, the first one there was an expired MLS listing. I can go a little bit more into that, and just some samples again of recent deals. And this is one of the reasons I love land. We're not doing hundreds of thousands of dollar deals, but kind of an average is buy it for 10,000 and quickly flip it for 20,000. So I'll go ahead and share my screen if that's okay. And can you guys see my screen okay? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Well, PropStream is a tool that I use. Louise is just going to put a link in the chat. It's good for a 7-day trial. There's DataTree that a lot of people use. I use PropStream for one reason. I do have some teammates, and we want to keep their budget to a minimum. and it's a month-to-month, it's not an annual subscription. But as I just put in Pensacola here, and I'll just kind of go through the process of building a list. And I'm going to search for vacant land. And so I've got 13,000, and now I want to find out of those 13,000, who is most likely going to sell. And the market area I do is very small. It's Pensacola. The population is about 60,000 people, and we do about 3 deals a month. So as I continue to filter, I can go to ownership information and say, show me all the people that have owned for a minimum of 10 years. And so what it's going to do is take that list down quite a bit. But the assumption is if they've owned it for 10 years and they haven't done anything with it, all they've done is pay taxes on it for 10 years, they may be a good candidate to go ahead and contact. But I'm going to add additional filters in there. So out of these people, out of these 3,100, what I want to look for ideally, and this is kind of a generic list, people that live out of state. And the assumption is if they've owned it for 10 years or longer and they live out of state, there's 502 of them. So we'll build a list with that. And if that list is too small, I can add back in people that live out of county, or there's other things that I can do here as well. Bear with me. I don't know, it took me to DocuSign. Let me go ahead and reload this.
Are you going to send me a contract in DocuSign?
I will.
Hey, I'd like to buy some land in Florida, but you know.
Yeah, so I'm just going back to Pensacola, and I'm building a generic list. Vacant land, Pensacola. People have owned it for 10 years or longer. And they live out of the area. And so it'll take my list down to, I've got about 2,600 people here. If that list is too large, I'll just change the years of ownership. And I'm massaging the numbers, I'll change it to 15 years, and it will shrink the list. So part of it depends on your budget and what have you. We can sort by individuals, and there's other things that I can do on here. I can go ahead and say, out of these 2,500, which people have tried to sell their property in the multiple listing, and this would be a secondary list, and it failed. So now I've got 116 people that fit my criteria. They live out of the area. They've owned it for 15 years or longer. They've tried to sell it on the multiple listing service and it failed. I know those 116 people want to sell their property. But as I continue filtering, I want to make sure that they didn't just try to sell it for one day. They may have tried to sell it for 60 days or longer. Now, we built a list like this, and I'll show you an example of a property that we did from a failed MLS listing. And you can see here, March 21st, 2022, we bought the property for $10,300. Where I got that lead was from PropStream. It was a failed MLS listing. And I knew in 2019, she tried to sell her property for $10,000. So then I reached out to her, skip traced her, and called her and offered her $300 more than she tried to sell her property for. But what I had was 3 years of appreciation. We turned around and sold it 3 days later for $25,000. So within PropStream, I can build generic list and I can build niche list, or I could get rid of the failed MLS listings here. And I've got 2,500. And if I want, I can say, show me the people that have had delinquent taxes. And I can put in a range there for delinquent taxes, narrow this list down, and find the people that have more issues. So, but then I'll turn PropStream around and I'll show you another search that I do. So I can build a list of people to market to, but now I'm just going to put in a specific zip code. And this is a zip code in Pensacola. And in this zip code, I'm going to search for vacant land. And now I'm going to try to find buyers. And you guys can do this if you have houses you want to sell. So this is my zip code. And within there's 1,822 vacant parcels. I go to ownership information and say, show me people that have owned for 2 years or less. Now I have 134 people that have bought vacant land similar to what I'm trying to sell right in my immediate market area. But I'm going to go ahead and filter this more, and it says number of properties owned. And I'm going to say, well, out of these 134, who owns 5 or more properties? And again, if you have a house you're trying to flip, you can do the exact same thing. You put in your zip code or your market area, find out who the investors are. These people here, these 56, have bought vacant land where I'm trying to sell mine, and they bought vacant land within the last 2 years. They own 5 or more properties. These are 56 investors that have bought vacant land where I'm trying to sell. And if I brought up one of these,
You guys see why he's going through this process? Like he showed you how to begin finding some motivated sellers, but then he flipped over and said, who are the buyers for this property?
yeah, so here, this
And he
is
said, you say, just to go back through it, Michael, it was pretty simple. It was vacant properties bought in the last 3 years with buyers who bought at least 5 properties.
yeah, and here's the filters again, a zip code, vacant land, or
Guys
whether,
catch all that?
pardon me?
Yeah, I just want to make sure everyone catches it.
Yeah, filters, a zip code, or you could do a city, or you can draw on the map and draw around your market area for a neighborhood. Vacant land, these 56 people have owned for 2 years or less, so they're actively buying there. And this parcel right here is one that we flipped right there on W Street. And these people own 5 or more properties. So I've got 56. And if I want to go ahead, let's see here. I could go ahead and pull up the investor. I could see exactly what they paid for it. So I know what they're paying for similar properties. But then the next thing that I do out of these 56, I'll go ahead and filter by MLS status. And so out of these 56, and a lot of land sells not being on the multiple listing, but out of these 56, I want to say which one sold on the multiple listing. And this works particularly well for land, but out of the 56, 11 sold with realtors. So if I'm having a hard time valuing my property, I could go ahead and we'll click on one of these. And this is an individual property record. I can click on the MLS details. I see a property that's sold, but very quickly I've got the agent's name, email, and phone number that sold a property to an investor in my immediate market area. I can reach out to that realtor if I'm having a hard time comping it, and I would just call them. And this is, it doesn't have the name there, but you know, James or whatever the name, and say, I'm Michael Robertson. I see you sold the property on Paget. If I was to list my property with you, and sometimes I'll list them with realtors, and I want to sell it in 60 days or less, what do you think we should list it for? Well, that helps me validate when I'm having a hard time with comps. But the other thing that happens is these 11 realtors probably also have additional investors looking for land right in my immediate market area. So I'm just taking PropStream and I'm turning it around. Instead of just building a list, I'm turning it around. I can find buyers, or I could go ahead and, you know, based on the filters, I could go ahead and find who are the cash buyers in my market area. Additional parameters are who are the tired landlords. So that's just another instance where I'll go ahead and use PropStream. Additional filters, you know, I can filter by liens and see out of the 2,000 or 3,000 properties in my market area, which ones have liens. And so what I use PropStream for is I'm kind of building my initial generic list. And then as Luis showed earlier, we have 14 niches that we market to. But after I build my list, I'm going to go ahead and share a different slide here.
And Joe, if you've got a question, unmute. We'll get it in just a second.
So this tool here is called Versium, and the
How do
information,
you spell that?
pardon?
How do you spell it?
Versium, Versium.
This is a powerful one.
Yeah, it's powerful. The challenge is the cost. It's
How much is it?
a minimum cost of $3,600. But what it allows me to do is take approximately 70,000 leads and run it through Versium. So about 5 cents a record. So with the teammates that we have, I take Versium and I just divide it up in bite-sized pieces. And if they want me to skip trace 1,000 leads, we'll do that. Besides the PropStream information you see, which is mailing address, property address, owner's name, assessed value, and lot size, as I scroll over, and this is where I get some of my niche list. This is age right here. And if I want to go ahead and sort and do a campaign to people that are 65 or over,
Oh,
we'll resort that. That's youngest to oldest.
That's always good for burned out landlords too, by the way. I love buying from people 60 and older.
Yeah,
They
so
don't-
we know that these people, they live out of the market area, maybe out of the county, out of state. They've owned it for 10 or 15 years or longer, and then I'll run it through Versium. And I can do a campaign to people that are 65 or over. And a large portion of our people that we buy from are 55 and over. They've owned it for years. They're just not going to do anything to it. And so as we keep filtering over, it gives me additional information, whether they're married or whether they're single, how many credit cards they have, but we'll get over to some of the powerful information. But it will tell me what is their annual income, what is their net worth. It will give me housing information. So this is great for the people that are flipping houses. What type of property, single family, multifamily, what is the value of the property, how long have they owned it, what is the mortgage information. And this part here is very powerful. And this would be another campaign that will filter by credit score.
Credit score is a big one.
And I'm not great at this filtering button, but bear with me. By credit score, so we can do a campaign to people that are 65 or over, people that have relatively low income.
And then you get their mailing address and their phone number, right?
Yeah, so it's got mailing address, and that's the PropStream information. But then as I run it through Versium, and here is additional mortgage information, interest rates, loan to value, but it will give me up to 6 phone numbers. So depending on if I want to do a text campaign or cold calling, I can order all 6 phone numbers.
Even tells you their car.
Yeah, year, make, and model of car. And when you filter by credit score and you've got the low credit scores, they're typically not driving newer cars. And it will give me phone numbers, up to 6 phone numbers. And typically the first 3 are the best. And then you get into there, a lot of times they're just not very good. Emails on about 40% of the records, not 100%. So I like to market to these niche lists. I like to build our list and then run it through Versium. And we had one teammate, she was going to send out 4,000 pieces of mail, $2,800. We ran it through Versium and narrowed it down to the 1,000 best leads. And the mailing, it saved her approximately $2,100. And it took about an hour from start to finish to go ahead and run through that process.
And, I really like TLO a lot for skip tracing, but they got to come to your house. They got to audit. There's a lot going on there. How do you get signed up for Versium? Do you just use it for marketing?
Yeah, they didn't have to come. I've used Accurant, which is like TLO, and they make sure you have a locked file cabinet and those type of things. But with Versium, I just talked to the sales rep. And it was a very easy process to go ahead and sign up. No one had to come and see what we were doing or anything like that. So as I'm going, I love the vacant land, but we used to flip houses as well. So many of the techniques that I'm showing here and additional ones as well, it works for any type of property. We just happen to learn a lot of these nuggets over the years.
Excuse me, Michael.
Yeah.
What's the prices on the skip trace?
Yeah,
it's all inclusive, right?
Yeah, with Versium, for me to go ahead and sign up, it's an annual subscription. It's $3,600, and after I use my 70,000 leads, I can replenish it or I'm done till the next year. It's $3,600. Beyond that, there's no additional charge. And I run Versium. I don't send them a file and they run it. We take our files and put it in there and we run it ourselves.
Can you do bulk files?
Yeah, bulk files. So I'll just take an Excel spreadsheet, put it into Versium. You map 2 or 3 fields. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes to run it, depending on how busy the system is. And we get the output right there, and we control the data.
That's pretty good.
So it's a great tool. It helps us, especially, we want to do a campaign, 65 and over. That's a campaign. People with low credit scores, this is a campaign. But as you see the age, some of these people are most likely deceased. But as you see these people here, they've owned for 20 years or longer. Maybe they're delinquent on their taxes. They're 65. They live out of the area. It doesn't mean that they're going to sell. They're just more likely to sell.
Yeah, I use a similar thing. There's a guy in the Philippines. He has TLO access. So I get the same thing, deceased, I get the date of birth,
Yeah,
but I don't get the credit scores though, but
yeah.
I
So,
love PLO.
you know, it's there are so many tools out there, and we probably used 80 or 90% of them. We obviously haven't used all of them, so I'm always looking to explore. But after I've built my list, we're marketing to the niche people, we're having the conversation with people, and I take it a step further, and I like to run and see if I'm still logged in here. This will take me a second to log in, and some of you may be using this tool.
IDI, hey, this is a good place. Joseph, do you have a question?
I know about this.
You had your hand raised there. If you do, just unmute.
Yeah,
or-
I got, what's
Go
up,
ahead.
family? Jim, thank you very much for hosting this, man. This is
Great
awesome.
to have you. Yeah, it is good. Go ahead.
Yeah, all right. So, my girl and I we're buying land in Georgia to do manufactured new construction. And because
Nice.
we're a builder, we're a private money lender here in Atlanta as well, in Georgia, and we've jumped into this space. And this is amazing because the other night we had just logged into PropStream to get the free trial. And I was like, baby, we need to start finding this in our market. Well, outside of Atlanta, right? Because certain counties don't allow manufactured homes. But man, this is amazing how to flip the script, because we're gonna start having a problem where we have all of this land, but we can't take on all the projects. We cannot take on the land itself. And so, like, for instance, Michael, you're the man, dude. I love this. Those 11, that list, if you could go back, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, look, I just want to show you this tool, and then I'm going to have Louise go ahead and pull that back up. So now let's say that we're engaging with the individual, and I may have two properties that are identical, virtually identical next door to each other. Most people do due diligence on the property. I like to take it a step further and do due diligence on the seller. This is a tool that I use. It costs $1.75 a search, but I always use this before I make an offer. And I'm going to turn it around a little bit. One of our teammates was going to buy a property, but what I like to do is a background on the seller. And I'll show you an example of this here. So this person right here was going to sell a property to one of our teammates, but I also run it when I'm going to buy a property. But what it gives me is email addresses, previous addresses they lived at, recent phone numbers, bankruptcies, liens, judgments, criminal history, business affiliations, business licenses. But this example, I'll just show you the criminal history on this gentleman. Well, on this guy. And I think he was trying to steal $60,000 from one of our teammates that was going to buy from him. So I got them on, we ran a background, and you can just see, you know, traffic infractions.
You know what else this would be good for, Michael?
Return mail.
People like me that like to do private money lending.
Yeah. Yeah. But as I scroll down, you can see felony grand larceny right here. And this guy wanted to sell the property to one of our student teammates. It was $60,000, and he insisted on using his own title company. But as you scroll down here, felony public record forgery, felony, you know, on and on and on. So it's just another tool as we go ahead and build our list. We run it through Versium. We contact the people. We already know a lot about them. Do they have bankruptcies, liens, judgments, criminal history, business licenses, business affiliations, delinquent taxes? And here's the criminal history. But where it helps me, and it will help you guys if you decide to do it, I may offer one guy $10,000 and one guy $6,000 because I understand their situation. So besides understanding the property, you know, is it wetlands? Is it flood zones? Does it have road access? Those type of things. I know their situation. Then it helps me craft my offer.
Does that make sense to you guys? Because the more you know, the better you can negotiate.
Yeah, and if you're doing private money lending, I would run one of these on everybody.
This is awesome.
So, but Louise, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my slide, my screen for a second. Maybe you can pull up the 14 niche list.
So yeah, so this is awesome, Michael, because a lot of people don't know how to underwrite land. And so by you having those agents, those 11 agents, or those 11 properties that sold, those agents are literally your boots on the ground in that area, especially if you're investing in the outskirts of a metropolitan city, right? So it's pretty. It's like a reverse, I guess, Skip Tracy for buyers.
Yeah, it's just taking PropStream and everyone's building list and it's just turning it around. I'm looking at it. Well, who's buying and who can I target? So again, these are the 14 niche list, and one of them down at the bottom there says certificates. And I'll share that a little bit more. But if you guys want to take a screenshot of that, Louise, can you put that back up?
Yeah. Hold on.
And just take a screenshot of it. And when we're done here, I'm very open. I'm very accessible. I give people my cell phone number. You can message me on Facebook Messenger, and just always, happy to help. I'm not just trying to squeeze money, those type of things. But again, if you can put that niche list back up.
I posted it on the chat as well.
Okay. And I'll show you one other niche that we market to. And let's see here. So the data that's available varies quite a bit in counties, but I can go into my tax collector here and I can pull up a report of everyone that's delinquent on taxes, all unpaid accounts there, and there's about 17,000 people, but that can be someone that's 2 weeks behind. So we took it a step further, and here it says certificates. So I put the year 2022. Let's see if I can do a search here. Oh, I made a mistake. So I'm just going to put in the year 2022.
Not all counties have this online.
It does vary.
But let me ask you guys, have you checked your county? Do you even know? Corey, have you ever checked the counties you're marketing in? Which ones are online and which aren't for you?
Very few delinquents are online. Most of the
I
time, you have to
agree.
go straight to the county and ask for them. But
Yeah, they'll do it if you do a FOIA request.
yeah, a lot of times you have to fill out a FOIA request, but they'll give it to you.
So
Now,
so in this
Some of
example,
it's on PropStream, some isn't.
yeah, PropStream, you can pull delinquent taxes as well. What I find though, PropStream's great, but sometimes you can get the information directly from the county.
Yeah.
You typically get a higher number of matches. But this is people that have certificates from 2022. So they're at least 2 years behind. And there's 12,712 records. So what we did, each record here has an account number. If I pull the vacant land for Escambia County and I pull a list, each property, and similar to this one here, there is an account number right there. And so if the account number is on both spreadsheets, that's going to show me vacant land where they're chronically delinquent on their taxes. So Louise and I did that, and we pulled a list of about 1,500 people that were chronically delinquent. Louise spent a couple of days going through there, and we went through them. She went through them one at a time, just to make sure it wasn't a little sliver of land. It was something we wanted. And we narrowed that list down to 650 parcels of vacant land that we want that are chronically delinquent on their taxes. We finished that list. She finished that list this week. And so we'll most likely mail a letter, and we'll recraft the letter specifically to these 650 people. And out of that 650 people, we'll probably do, 2 to 4 deals, I would guess. But then we're going to keep them on a regular mailing. So November 1st, they'll get their tax bill. Guess what? November 1st, they'll get a letter from us as well. And so now they're going to be 3 years behind. But what happens is if they don't, these are properties that are going to tax deed sale. If they don't redeem the taxes, these properties go to tax deed sale. So the people have 3 choices with the certificates. They can redeem it, they can lose it at the tax deed sale, or we'll be there waiting for them. So that's just another tool that we use. But these certificates are people that are chronically delinquent. So we do market to people delinquent, but these people now have risk of losing their property.
Okay.
So again, PropStream, it's a great tool. additional filters that you can do is valuation and equity. I can sort by assessed value, liens. I can go ahead and pull liens here, you know, and sort by people that are delinquent right here. You know, you can do bankruptcies, you know, quite a few different types of liens here as well. So if we go back, if Louise has a chance, if she can go back and just put up that 14 niche list one more time. So in each of these, I can expand on a little bit, but whether you're doing houses or land, just some of these techniques are good for those products. We just happen to take these techniques and apply it to vacant land.
Which tool do you think, Michael, is the most important? If you're gonna brand new in a brand new market, say you came to see me in Virginia again and we had dinner back at the boathouse again.
Yeah.
And I said, what would you do first if you want to start flipping land in the next couple of weeks in my market?
Yeah.
Which tool is most important?
Yeah, I would use PropStream. It's $97 or $99 a month. You can pull 10,000 leads. You can skip trace right in there. You can mail right in there if you choose to. But I suggest to people that want to do a deal quick, the two niches that I market to are the people that are going to tax deed sale. And again, you know, and I would go to tax deed sales, people that are going to lose their property in September. But you can see as it gets closer, well, this already happened. Most of these people redeemed it, but here, this person didn't redeem it. That was sold at the auction. That was sold at the auction. And I would have been there, sold at the auction. My goal is to be there before it goes to the auction. I get a better title on that.
So you like tax delinquent, and what about like out-of-state owners? A lot of out-of-state owners are just paying taxes year after year and they don't do anything with the property.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and do a quick refilter here.
Okay.
Do Pensacola, vacant land. Ownership, let's go to 20 years.
There you go. That land's just collecting taxes.
Yeah, here's 1,212 people. Some of them may be, and if it gets to 20 years, I would market to local people as well. I mean, not to say that, you know, we buy
How
from.
many of them are out of state, just out of for giggles? Right?
Yeah, just out of state right here.
Oh,
For 20 years, 202 people.
that's a lot,
Yeah,
literally.
I would think.
Can you click on one of those records on the right?
Yeah.
And let's see what linked properties they have. Do you ever do that?
Yeah, so other things you can do
Okay.
here. When I'm doing my homework and I'm going to make an offer, I can look at their property. I can see that these people tried to sell it on the multiple listing. But the other thing I do before I make an offer, I'm understanding them more. I want to see what other properties they own.
I love this tab.
And here in PropStream, I can see that these people own 2 properties. I can see about what their equity is. But many times if they own 1 or 2, I'm going to treat them one way. But if someone owns 15 properties here and the equity is $4 or $5 million, I'm dealing with a different type of potential seller.
How do you treat those two differently?
Well, if it's someone that owns 8 properties and got $3 million of equity, it'd probably be a little bit different negotiating with them. They're probably a little bit more sophisticated. The people that own 1 or 2 properties and maybe it was quick claim to them, I may go ahead and approach that a little bit differently. It's probably not as sophisticated. The person that has the 8 properties and millions of dollars in equity is probably not interested in a wholesale type offer. You know, they don't have that motivation.
Right. Okay. All right. So Corey, I want to talk to you really quick. I mean, you like a year ago, you were just getting started on land, and now, I mean, you're like becoming a land mogul yourself. And you're a friend of mine, so I can pick on you. I mean, I know how well you're doing. You're doing great. So tell us something you've sort of learned about flipping land. You've learned
It's
a lot.
much easier. It's
It's
much
easier.
easier than
You don't have
rehabbing
to
houses, I
manage-
can tell you
You don't
that.
have to manage contractors or tenants.
No, no, we've got an Airbnb that we just bought. Well, we've got a property we just got bought. We're turning it to Airbnb, and it's just been a nightmare for the last month trying to manage contractors and everything. It's like, man, land is so much easier.
So
I
give me an example of something you've done with land in the last 6 months. Like, how did you sell it? What did you do?
So I mean, most of what we're doing, we're pulling lists from counties. You know, we'll pull everything from counties, and we started out just marketing to out of town owners, out of county, out of state owners.
Yeah.
But we started marketing to, people in the county as well. And um, I don't know. I mean, we don't get as good a response in the county, but we still to get some pretty good responses. But I mean, you know, people call all the time. I've gotten 2 calls while we've been on this Zoom meeting for the last 45 minutes.
Pretty
Um,
good.
yeah, and it comes into our CRM. I get a chance to take a look at it and do some research, and then I'll call them back. And from then it's just a conversation. And mostly what we're doing is we're buying low and turn around and reselling. Like I said, we do have a couple pieces that we're in the middle of breaking up, some small minor subdivisions, 4 or 5 lot subdivisions, 3 lot subdivisions, things like that. We haven't managed to scale to the point of a large subdivision yet, but I mean, it's just so much easier, less
Oh,
moving
fun.
parts. Yeah.
Okay. What about due diligence, guys? That's for everybody. I mean, really, what do you need to know before you close? And do you try to have a buyer before you close?
Typically, I don't. For my due diligence, I want to make sure it has access. I want to make sure I have good title. A
How about
lot of the
utilities?
lots that we buy are rural or suburban type properties. So we will have perk tests done on anything that we buy, and we have to have a perk test done on. I don't want to buy something that will not perk. And I'm kind of on the fence, depending on what level alternative system that a property has to have. If it's a level 3 system, I may pass on it. If it's a 1 or 2 system,
How much
it's
does
still
it cost
doable.
to get that septic test?
I think I'm paying anywhere from 600 to 800 a piece on the
It's a good
test.
amount of money.
Yeah, I mean it's a good amount of money, but I mean it's insurance. I don't want to buy
Peace of
something
mind.
that will not perk, and then I'm stuck.
Right. Have
So
you looked at land that did not perk, Corey?
oh yeah. I've had quite a few pieces that I've walked away from just because they won't perk.
Okay. Go ahead. Somebody had their hand up. Curtis,
Okay, I always say I would look for like flood zones as well.
it's a good one.
Flood zones and
You
easements.
don't want to buy a piece of swampland.
Yeah, but yeah, sometimes that'll be a swampland. It could be even a development, but it might be the flood zone, and it could be easements on there, stuff like that. It's being like this stuff like this easement, flood zone,
Mhm.
typography, like if it's the levels, if it's too slanted, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
that
want to
make-
I want to piggyback off what Curtis just said.
Yeah.
The topography, also the zoning is very important because
Yeah.
if you're not going to take on that project, you need to have that pool of buyers. If it's agricultural, if it's mixed use, multi and residential, that's also important because your exit, you don't want to get stuck on buying a piece of land that you can't move if you're not actually taking on the project yourself. And so the biggest thing with Giovanna and I is, having a survey, soil test, ready to rock and roll, that it makes it easier for the end buyer to just get it off your hands. And you could actually ask for a little bit higher exit on it because you did most of the work, at least up front. Now, if they're going to be doing new construction or anything of that nature, then that's on them. They have to, submit for permits and all that. But yeah, man, this is amazing. Now, sorry, Michael. When you're pulling, when Jim just said about using, what is it, I-Core for
IDI.
does that show up as a hard pull or a soft?
Does it show up as what?
As a hard pull?
Does it hit their credit report?
No. This is I just pay $1.75 and I control this. It has nothing to do with that.
Ah, okay, good. Yeah, because I wouldn't want my clients to have a ding on their per credit if I'm pulling for private money.
No,
That's good. Okay.
yeah, so we go ahead and do that, and just doing a little due diligence. I'll pull up the property and I can see the zoning and everything right there. And then I like to go to the county GIS and I can see the sales history right there. I can pull up all the deeds right there. But the county that I'm in, I can launch the interactive map and just doing my due diligence quickly. I can go ahead and get rid of this aerial here. But you can see here very quickly, I can go ahead and pull up wetlands right there, flood zones, easements, vacant land comparables. Let's see here, vacant land comps right here. And that's the one that we sold for 25,000. I can see my other comps right here. And another thing I like to pull up is the local, I just have it on my desktop, but it's the planning and zoning guidelines right there. So when I find out what the zoning is, I just pull up the development code for that parcel, and it's going to tell me under section 3 here what's allowed under every type of zoning. So I'm doing my background on the seller, I'm running my comps, I'm pulling up the zoning, I'm looking at wetlands, flood zones, easements, again, doing the background on them. And soon as I get the agreement signed, typically within 30 minutes, I start marketing that property. We
And you
immediately
know,
take
and somebody asked Michael, like, how do you find the buyers? Well, we did that in PropStream earlier. So
Yeah,
just,
PropStream is one source. When we get a property, I spend $100 per property to promote it on Facebook Marketplace. So in Facebook Marketplace in Pensacola, my small area, I have over 600 people looking for vacant lots. Some of them are tire kickers. Then I go to the National Association of Home Builders and see if they have a local chapter. They have a local chapter where I am. There's 89 builders. Habitat for Humanity, I had lunch with them last week. We sold them 11 parcels. So I've got Facebook Marketplace, PropStream, the realtors that have sold properties in the area. I list some of ours.
what about Craigslist is still out there too?
And Craigslist as well. So four different avenues that we use to go ahead and target buyers. And then, you know, our goal is to have it sold before we close escrow, to have a buyer.
Okay. Sharon, you had a question. Are you able to unmute there from Michigan?
I am. Yes.
Sharon, don't you watch this and just say, why am I, Sharon, not flipping land?
Right. Well, to be fair, I've actually had access to Michael's course, and I am finally getting in a position where I can feel
Good.
like I can be consistent with the schedule. So this leads into my question that I have.
All right.
So approximately, or I don't even know, Michael, if you guys are tracking this, but I know you mentioned 3 deals closing per month. So do you have an average of how many leads you're hitting per month, how you're contacting them, and also how many hours or per week or per day that are going into that consistently? That could be a good goal marker that I could look at lining out.
One thing that I should do better, and you know, we're always improving and taking courses as well, is consistent marketing. So sometimes mine's a little reactionary. You know, the pipeline gets a little bit low, so now we're going to mail out the 650 letters, and the pipeline will be full. It happens pretty quick. So specifically, the best campaign that we did, I mailed out 3,000 letters October 28th. They received them approximately November 1st. Guess when they got their tax bill? Approximately November 1st. We did 11 deals, 1 out of every 272 pieces of mail. And that's our most successful campaign of the year, is the tax one. But that's why I like the niche list, to dig into those. So if I want to react, I can pull a list up through PropStream of expired MLS listings from 3 years ago to 8 years ago, approximately, and make sure the people still own the property. And then I can see if the listing failed. I know what they tried to sell it for. I can use different skip tracing tools. I can use IDI Core, and I can be on the phone with those people, you know, in 2 minutes. So it's pretty easy to turn it off or turn it back on.
So Michael, why don't we give Sharon a couple of tasks? Sharon, I'd like you to do a land deal in the next 30 days. And so does
I'm not mad at that. What?
Michael wants you to do it too. Can you?
I will help you.
What should she do first, second, and third, Michael?
Yeah, the first thing that if I
Oh,
wanted to
sure.
do, if I wanted to do a deal in 30 days, I'd pull up the tax deed sale list. And if the property's going to sale October 2nd, these people, they need to do something now. I mean,
Do you know when your tax sale is in your area, Sharon? You're not far from Pensacola, by the way.
I'm not. I don't know anything about
Yeah.
where I'm
So
at so
number
far.
one,
So
gotta find out when your tax sale is. Okay,
another easy way to do it, we could just pull up a market area right here and pull up a list of expired MLS listings, very quickly, see which people still own them. And the good thing is 100% of those people wanted to sell their property. So
what's your target area there in the Gulf Coast, Sharon? Where are you at?
I am in Miramar Beach, Destin. I'm focusing on Freeport area.
So could you pull that up real quick, Michael? Let's try to help her. You got everyone want to help Sharon?
Y'all are amazing.
Because everyone's kind of got the same question. And Corey, I mean, you got all you guys that are doing some deals.
Can you guys see my screen?
No.
Okay, bear with me.
By the way, when you share your screen, there's an option now, Michael, where you can make yourself appear on it.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll work on that. Anyway, here's Freeport, 11,546 properties. And very quickly, if we wanted to see vacant land.
Here we go.
And now we've got, it's going to be 2,909.
A lot. Okay.
So let's go to owners that have owned for, at least, I just put in 11 years.
All right.
So we have 353, which is a pretty small number. But we could go to MLS status.
Yep.
And it failed. They tried to sell and it failed. So we only have 13, which is a really small number. But the next thing I like to do, it says days on the market. So I don't want to contact someone that had it on the market for 1 day. So typically under minimum, I'll put 60. And now here's 6.
So Sharon, could you skip trace these 6 people and call them tomorrow? Could you could you connect those dots and call these 6 people? Would it, Michael, would it be worthwhile for her to do that?
Yeah, so in this specific example, we know that they tried to sell it, I don't know, 6 years ago for $79,000. It was on the market for 310 days. They've owned it for 20 years, and I'm trying to see where they live very quickly. Go back to property details. And they live in Freeport. It may be better if they lived out of the
by an LLC.
Yeah. And a
couple of struggles there.
Yeah. And so if there's an LLC, I just go to the Secretary of State, put the LLC in there, and it's going to give me who the agent of service is. And then I skip trace them very quick, and I could be on the phone with these people right here, and it would take a couple minutes. Just a few.
The next one down. Let's take a look again.
And even though Freeport is an area, the reason of Freeport is because it's an up and coming area and there's a lot of building going on out there and things like that. It's a little north of Destin. And so there's also Destin, Santa Rosa, some of the other areas, but they're more of the hot markets. Not against it, but Freeport's a bit more of the up and coming spot is why.
This lot was on the MLS for 3 years.
Yeah, so they've owned it for
12.
This one they've owned for 12 years, and it was on the MLS 7 years ago, so they still own it. And I can see it was on the market, for 3 years for 117,000. I can pull up comparables right here. Sometimes
if you could get it for 117 or so today, you'd do pretty well, because that was 7 years ago.
Yeah, and so I'd go have a conversation with them, and then the first thing they're going to ask you is, well, what's your offer? And what I usually say after that, I said, well, I haven't had a chance to view the property yet. I didn't want to go walking around and have neighbors concerned. Can I get your permission to view the property? And what that does, it diffuses what is your offer right now. It gives me 3, 4, or 5 days to go ahead and do some homework. And as we just go down.
And you can look at the buyers in that area too, Sharon, the way we showed you earlier. You got to become proficient at PropStream. It's a good skill set to have.
Yeah, and within PropStream, I'll show you, but here we have Marjorie and Evangelista. She's owned the property for 20 years. You know, I'm just trying to see where she lives in relationship to the property. That would just be part of the process I'd go through. There's not tons in this market area. It's a little more rural there. It's a growing area. It's not too far away from Destin down here. So that's why the numbers, there aren't quite as many numbers here.
Okay. Start with that list and try to find somebody you can call tomorrow. I want you to
Okay.
make a deal this week. There's a challenge.
Okay, so here,
That works.
here's
I
Jerry,
like goals.
Jerry Monda. He lives in Tennessee.
See if
He's
we're
owned
gonna-
for 23 years. He tried to sell it for 2 years for $60,000. It failed. And just looking at it, I'm not quite sure how large this parcel is. Just a infill lot. This, after looking at those, this might be one I might look at, and I can go ahead and look at the pictures. You know, see what's going on here. But very quickly, we could go ahead and skip trace him. And I would do a little bit more homework, you know, look at linked properties. He has 3 properties. He's got $700,000 in equity. You know, he may not just not want the property anymore. So expired MLS listings and properties that are going to tax deed sale. Those are the 2 lists I'd go after if I want to do a transaction in a short period of time.
Okay. All right, Michael, you and I have another Zoom coming up
We do.
in a few minutes, so I'm gonna let everyone go.
How do we contact Michael?
Yeah, put your contact in there,
Yeah,
Michael.
I'll just give you my cell phone. It's 850.
Give me 1 second.
So give me an hour and a half.
850.
377
Yep.
2203.
Okay.
Or I'm on Facebook Messenger.
There you go.
You know, I'm very easy to get hold of, and I don't know if you can still see this, but this right here, these 3 screwdrivers, this is all the tools that I own, literally.
Well, you have a lot of digital tools, Michael.
Yeah, I have digital tools. So,
Upstream, IDI, you
Yeah.
know,
so no repairs required. Just, you know, that's why.
you're a digital tool man now.
Yeah, I'm good at the information.
That's good. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you again next week. I hope you enjoyed this. How would you give it on a scale of 0 to 10? On 10 being it was really
Thank you.
helpful
10.
today.
10.
Yeah, just go ahead and reach out. I'm happy to network and help you guys
Anytime.
any way I can.
Michael, thanks for being part of our Inner Circle community. We're grateful
Guys,
for
thank
my
you very
friend.
much. Appreciate it.
Yes,
Jim,
thank you.
thank you. Michael, thank
All
you.
right, Sharon, thank you guys. We'll see you.
It's the community as a whole that makes this work. And we want to help you guys. So thanks. Have a great day, guys. See you later.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Thank you.
How are you? Hello? Hello? Hey, how are you? Good. Okay.
Smart code to get in?
Yes. Are you over there now? Did Melanie send you the code?
No.
Okay. Which day are you moving in? I don't have it in front of me.
Sunday, the 8th.
Okay.